Good morning, friends. It's 9 a.m., August 7th. We're going to do a special trade deadline edition of the Power Rankings right about now. It's been a while, and I think this deadline might be crazy, even though a lot of moves have been made. Spots 4 through, let's look at it now, 9 are pretty much up in the air. Looks like Brandon and Blair are separating themselves at the bottom, so that race won't be that interesting, but the playoff spots, top 3 are pretty settled, but the rest from there, it's going to be a battle. But first, I'd like to talk about Alex Rodriguez. As most of you know, he's the greatest baseball player of all time, and we're about an hour away of him either announcing his retirement or the release from the Yankees, even though I don't think they'll do that. But I don't want to talk about the witch hunt that followed him and the accusations against him, or how the American public praises notorious cheater David Ortiz while frowning upon A-Rod. I don't want to talk about any of that. I just want to talk about one thing. I'll just leave you with a quote, really. I think that'd be best. This is from Alex Rodriguez. The most important thing for me in my career is to be honest and forthright. And I think no matter what you think about him, we all think that's exactly what he did. So let's jump into the power rankings now. We're not going to rank the past champion. Brooks was here. To be ranked, you have to participate in the league, so let's move on. Blair's right ahead of him at the 11th spot. Just a bad year, bad draft. He was in Afghanistan, I think. If he wasn't, that's a really good excuse for how bad this team is. But he does have, in my opinion, Trevor Story should still win Rookie of the Year, even though he's out for the rest of the year. And that's a hell of a keeper to have. So let's move along, because this team is terrible, and I don't want to look at it. Next, currently in the standings, we have Mookie's Monsters. He's 10th in the standings and the power rankings, like the first two gentlemen. Bad team. Didn't have much money. Started out the gate, but Mookie Betts is a great keeper. Looks like Trey Turner will be a really good keeper. And he has someone else. I don't want to talk about it, so let's move on. The next spot, and we are going to go with, I'm doing these on the fly, I did 2 seconds of research before. We're going to put Graham. Main reason for that is that's what he's ranked in the actual rankings. And let's quickly pull up what he's doing this week. Stanton hit a 504-foot home run last night. Okay, he's beaten Davis this week. We're going to edit that. Davis is now our 9 spot. Regrettably, I like Davis. But we're going to put Davis at the 9 spot. It's a what have you done for me lately league. Let's briefly talk about his team. He traded me 2 players that got hurt the first game they played for me in this last week, so I actually would like to rank him 12th, but I won't do that. Corey Seager's nice. Moving on. Number 8 team is Graham Overton, who is beating Davis currently. I'm not sure if Graham's participating in the league or he's just really hard to trade with. He has 0 trades. He has Puig. What a disaster. Don't see any glaring great keepers coming up. And don't want to talk about his team anymore either. Next up, we are going to put Old Yeller. If my mouse would work. I'm not sure what he's actually ranked this year. But let's look here. He's got an interesting keeper situation. He has Lindor at an incredibly cheap price, and he didn't have much money from the draft from what I remember, but he's got some good sticks. Douche or no douche using sticks for bats. And now my mouse is working. I can bring up his team further. Looks like he has a decent setup for the next year as well. He's made a ton of money, probably will have the highest stack going into the draft next year, and has some interesting choices for this year, and very well could make the playoffs next year. So that's Kiefer in the next spot. Next we're going to go with Team Thorne. The Kershaw injury, obviously devastating. He was the #1 player at the time, and he has some good keepers. He has Syndergaard at an incredibly cheap price. Yu Darvish, I'm sure, will be kept, and Addison Russell is somehow going to have 90 RBI, and he's winning this week and very likely could make the playoffs. Next up, we're going to go Team We Suck. This is an interesting team that's been very hot of late. No real glaring weakness on this team. He's bad at trading for closers. They always get hurt or become set-up men. And his team is, let's check this week. I like Doug. I haven't seen Doug in a while. I did have lunch with him. Doug is beating the number 1 seeded Brett Craig this week, and the number 1 in our power team. Power ranking, spoiler alert, Brett Craig will be number 1. Doug looking like he could defeat him, so maybe we should put him up a little higher. Next we're going to go Ramsey. I was tempted to put him at the 3 spot. However, the top 3 seeds have been so strong all year, just very consistent, myself included, thank you. I only had to spend $300 plus a $400 draft to get there. But we're going to go Ramsey, obviously stacked to the gills after he gave Brandon his entire budget. His pitching's been horrendous this week, but that will change quickly. The lineup's incredible. Trout's insane. And rumors that A.J. Pollock is going to come back for the playoffs. Fantasy playoffs, that is, because the Diamondbacks are 100 games back. Next up, we're going Wizard of Oz, even though I was tempted to put him above myself. I love this strategy, and I'll be doing it next year with all setup men. I won't be able to afford closers if you've paid attention to my budget. Utter has a good team with good keepers, especially next season, because he's going to have draft money on top of the good keepers. Love the strategy of all relievers. Look at Ramsey's pitching this week if you want to know why. Next, I'm going with myself. Not that much to talk about. Been 1 or 2 all year. Spent a ton of money. Every player on my team's hurt now. I'm going to have less than $50 to draft with. And next, we're going to the waiver wire king and our number 1 team, Brett Craig. Brett's done a pretty good job of not spending much this year. Some of his best players are off the waiver wire. Mr. Adam Duvall. Shout out to CAA for him. Next, Jonathan Villar, waiver wire king. And then he has the best pitcher in baseball, Kyle Hendricks. So this is going to be an incredible race. We've got a lot of people going for 4 or 5 spots, 3 or 4 spots, because I think Doug is going to be pretty set in. Doug and Ramsey both will be pretty set in the playoffs. So good luck to everyone. I would love to meet someone at a bar at 9 a.m. next Friday for the trade deadline. And we're going to check back in after the trade deadline. God bless. Go A-Rod.